Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Satsang with John and Michelle.
Hi.
Another week has gone by since we spoke to you last, and I'm sure there's been a lot of challenges and ups and downs in your life, and we also value you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. So welcome. Those of you joining us for the first time, just let us know where you're watching from. We love to know who we're talking to and where you're from. And as we're speaking tonight, thank you for all those hearts that we're receiving. We love the hearts, yeah. And if you find value in anything that we share tonight, please just keep those hearts coming. Lots of hearts, thank you. And press the like button and the share button. It's the share button that gets the satsang out into a bigger audience. So it's quite important to do that if you can do that.
Really
So,
helps.
but thank you for joining us. Yeah. And tonight we're going to be looking at mastering our minds.
Yeah.
Mastering our minds. That's a big one, hey?
Yeah.
Big one. No, we're not doing mind power tonight, but we're doing mastering the mind.
Yeah.
Very different, yeah. So, let's start out as we always do by practicing a little bit of mastering the mind and doing what's really important. We look forward to sharing information with you tonight, but the real important part of this evening is being here. That's all, just being here.
More important
That's
than
where
anything, really, isn't it?
It is.
Because we've got so much going on in our heads anyway.
Yeah.
We sometimes don't need too much more information.
No, we don't need more information. We just need to be here. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit here in silence for an hour.
Good
Shall we
idea.
do that?
We'll just let everybody send hearts.
Yeah, and
we'll receive
just
all
sit
of
here
them.
in silence. We should make this a silent satsang.
We should. Silent
Eh?
satsang,
Silent
good
satsang,
idea.
good idea.
Yeah.
Look, some people go away for 10 days and do a silent retreat.
Yeah, maybe we should do
So
silent
maybe a
satsang.
silent satsang. Well, we're not going to do it tonight.
Like that.
We're not going to do it tonight. So don't worry about that. Yeah, thank you for all the hearts. So let's just do the most important work, and it's not even work, of the evening, and that's withdrawing our mind from all other times and all other places and just becoming centered in this moment, in this place, wherever you are, and just making the present moment more important than any goings on in the world around you or any goings on in your head. So the way we do that is we gently close our eyes and we focus our attention on that part of us that is always here and present, and that's our body. And so we drop our awareness from our head into our body, and we see if we can pick up the feeling of aliveness in our body. Every single cell in our body is alive right now. About 50, 60, 70 trillion cells. Every single one makes up your body and is alive. So just take a moment or two to become aware of what it feels like to be alive in this moment, just this moment, here and now. No matter how many years you've lived on earth, this moment, here and now, is completely unique. You will never, ever experience this moment again, and you have never experienced this moment. It's brand new. So dropping your awareness into your body, taking a deep breath in, drawing the air right the way down, and a beautiful, long, relaxing breath out, just letting it all go. Let's try that again. Deep breath in, drawing the air right the way down into your body. You might like to blow your tummy up like a big ball as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, just drop your shoulders and relax your neck. Let everything go. And take a third deep breath in, blowing your tummy up, taking the air right down to those toes. And up to the top of your head, so you're really filling your whole body up to bursting point, and a beautiful sigh out, just relaxing, letting it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. And just let this intelligence we call life now to take over the breathing. This intelligence that beats your heart, digests your food, enables you to walk, to talk, to hold things. that takes care of all the metabolic processes in the body. Just allow it to take over your breathing with no conscious control on your part. But keep your awareness on the breath and just become aware of that beautiful rhythmic breathing, the gentle breath in and the pause and the breath out. And as we sit in this sacred moment called presence, just see what you can hear in this moment. Listening is such a wonderful medium for opening our awareness to connect with presence. So just for a moment become hyper aware of all the sounds coming into your eardrums. You can possibly hear your own breathing. What other sounds can you hear? In Cape Town we can hear the wind outside. What can you hear? Without labeling it really, just become aware of the sensation of sound. At the same time become aware of the sensation of touch. As you become aware of the chair you're sitting on, where your hands are touching, where your feet are resting, and the temperature of the room on your cheeks. And if there's any sensations in the body, any discomfort, any pain, just allow it to be there. But be aware of it and allow it. Just allow it to be there in this moment. And say thank you to your body for being here. Say thank you for your ears, for the faculty of listening. See what you can see behind your eyelids. Do you have any pictures going on right now? Become aware of any thoughts in your mind. Let the thoughts just pass through your awareness with no attachment, no judgment, no need to push them away. Just allow them to be there. Just let them drift gently through your awareness. Now become aware of the interval between thoughts. And say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Let's try that again. Say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Let's try that a third time. And just take on aware of consciousness of anticipation as you anticipate the next thought. Become aware of the stillness waiting for the thought to appear. Say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Becoming aware of the stillness inside you that wonders, the stillness inside you that listens, the stillness inside you that's aware of your hands and your feet and the chair you're sitting on, the awareness inside you that can hear my voice, that's aware of your breath, your breathing. Become aware of how sacred this moment is, how precious and how beautiful this moment is. Notice the beauty in just this moment here and now. Beauty opens our heart. When we recognize beauty, we become a more clear portal for love to enter. So noticing the beauty in this moment is important. For as we open up to love, so that love flows through us into this world, bringing healing. And the world needs healing right now. People, situations, circumstances, could all do with more love. Relax your body even more. Smooth your forehead, releasing any worry lines. And just saying a quiet thank you to all of those gathered here with us tonight. For there is power in this group. Where two or more are gathered, there I am. The I am, the great I am, which you are. And this is beautiful. Now take another very deep breath in, drawing the air right down to those toes and up to the top of your head. And then that beautiful, long, surrendering breath out. Just let it all go. And then whenever you're ready, you may gently open your eyes, and as you do that, just see how different you feel in your body right now compared to a few minutes ago. Just notice that difference. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. It was lovely. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us again on a Sunday. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome. We've got a lovely little community here that gets together every Sunday. So we're going to be talking about mind and the power of the mind. Really, it's
mastering the mind.
Yeah,
mastering
our
the
mind.
Yeah,
it's a big subject.
Interesting. Yeah, I
One
see.
of John's pet subjects because he's so good at teaching it.
I see Paolo is saying in Joburg you can hear the rain. I mean, that's a beautiful way of quietening the mind, is listening to the rain.
So gentle, hey?
Yeah, it's lovely that. Yeah. Do we have anything happening in the heavens?
Not really. Well, there's always stuff happening.
Because of the equinox.
Heavens, yeah. It was the equinox yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So that's when the sun moves into Aries. So the main thing is that it's the start of a new astrological year. So,
we're now to Aries.
Yeah.
It took a long time coming. It's probably taken like 12 months to get here.
It has taken 12 months to get here, which is always a new start and opening to the new. So we've done a lot of clearing over the past month, hopefully, and now we're ready to invite the new into our lives. And then we'll have a full moon early next week, so I'll do a blog on that. But this is the time really just to open to it, I would say, to be aware of it, to see it as new life. It's even though we're in the southern hemisphere and it's not spring here, it's still, according to the zodiac, it's still seen as new beginnings.
Well, some of you, I know, it is in the northern hemisphere. It's spring
it's
for you. But even so, from our perspective, it's after the new moon, so it's a good time to plant, isn't it? Still to plant new ideas, get into the garden, even and plant seeds and seedlings. It's a good idea.
Time. Anything be on a waxing moon. Whenever you're wanting something to grow, you plant it on a waxing moon. And when you're trying to get something to not grow, you don't do anything. So if you're wanting something to be removed from your body or something, you do it on a waning moon, because that's releasing, and it's not actually going to grow it. So so
it's a good time and also the beginning of the astrological year. It's a good time to plant things, new ideas, new visions. So we might talk about it later, but tomorrow night We have our vision, our life vision.
Yeah,
That's a good time.
Really a good time
Yeah,
to launch it.
Yeah, so we're launching our new Life Vision Week.
Life Vision.
It's part of our course, and it's a free week, and so there's a very good time to do that. Beginning of Aries, so we're in this. It's a good time to do the Life Vision Week. So you're all invited.
It's as we start a new year, really. I mean, this is kind of the new year, really. It's not really New Year. It's calendar year in January, but this is actually the start of the energetic New Year. So very good time to do it. So Life Visions tomorrow night. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and you're all welcome to join that.
Yeah. And I see this, I kind of see this year as one of the themes that I'm seeing is sovereignty.
Yeah.
And that's very much an Aries word. Yeah. You know, what is sovereignty? To stand in your, I just love that word, to stand in your sovereignty. And it kind of relates to what we're going to be talking about tonight as well. It's where you become the master of your own life. And you stand in your power, in your true power. And that's a very Aries theme, you know. You don't sort of get wavered by this and that. And it's a very courageous sign, Aries.
Of course.
And, John's an Aries. And it's his birthday soon. He's very courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a sign of courage. And courage is actually a heart word. It's not a head word. It comes from the root word cool, which is a French word for heart. So it's actually a heart word. So it's finding the courage within us to actually stand in our true power despite what's going on in the world, despite the opinions and actions of other people, to actually keep bringing ourselves back to the center. So I would say that's what I'd say the theme is for the year, really, as an energetic theme, because I think where we are as a species, I think it requires a lot of presence and a lot of sovereignty, a lot of inner strength, courage. Yeah.
And to realize, I think, that at the moment there does seem to be a lot of darkness in the world, but at the same time there has to be a lot of light. So that's the real gift that we're going through at the moment, is that contrast between the light and the dark. And I think it's so easy now to see that contrast, where before there was a lot of grey and it was a lot of hidden, and now we're going through the apocalypse, and the apocalypse means for that which is hidden to be revealed, for the veil to come down, the veil of secrecy to come down, and that is what we're going through right now. So it's a wonderful time, a time of contrast. And we live in the Western Cape, and the Western Cape, Cape Town was voted one of the most beautiful cities, if not the most beautiful city in the world. And the reason the Western Cape is so beautiful is because of the contrast. We have, you can have beauty in the plains, but it becomes, beauty becomes more obvious when there's contrast. So we have the sea meeting the mountains, and it's really, really beautiful to see those cliffs, particularly around, Chapman's Peak and Hout Bay, and it's really beautiful. We live right up against the mountain here. And so it is with the energies that we're going through this year. There's a lot of contrast this year, huge amount of contrast. So yes, you do get the deep valleys. A lot of people I know that are battling with depression, anxiety, fear, and that's the valley, that's the depth. But at the same time, there's the light, the mountain peaks, and in that time, it's easier to awaken because of the contrast. I always say it's easier to wake up from a nightmare than a comfortable dream. And when nothing much is happening in life, we get lulled, we go to sleep more. But when there's a lot happening and a lot of challenges and a lot of changes, a lot of disruption, I think then we're more motivated to say there must be a better way. And there is a better way. But if our life is too comfortable, we won't be pushed to even ask that question.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. It's the old versus the new, and control versus freedom, and it's finding the center point, the 0 point. So this is kind of a reset. Never mind the big reset that's apparently been planned, but this is the reset for the year. This is the reset point. It's like the 0 point, saying, okay, so it's open. You've got a whole year ahead of you. How are you gonna navigate it? Are you going to be pulled to the outside of the wheel, or are you going to find your center in the middle of the wheel?
Yeah.
So that's, for me, that's sovereignty. that's standing in the middle of your life.
Because the
Taking
middle of the
full
wheel...
responsibility and taking full, in this moment, I'm standing firm.
Yeah, in the middle of the wheel you can always, if you draw a circle and you draw a wheel, in the middle of the wheel you can put your real name, which is the I am. I am John in my case, but the I am is in the center of the wheel. The John is the story. It was written on a birth certificate, a long time ago, and it's accumulated a lot of experiences, and that's on the circumference of the wheel. But the I am, the real essence of who I am, is in the center, and it's never aged. It's still, it's quiet, it's empty. And that's who we all are. We are at the center of the wheel, projecting to the circumference of the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that brings us to tonight's topic, which is mastering your mind. So in that analogy, we can see that the circumference of the wheel can be likened to the story of our life, the drama of our life, the ups and downs of our life. And it's ruled by time, and it's ruled by false evidence appearing real, fear. So we have time and we have fear. And that is all contained within mind. You can't have mind without time, you can't have time without mind. And mind tends to be a very insecure thing. It tends to always need more to make itself feel complete and whole. And so mind, time and fear are all contained in the circumference of the wheel. But the I am, who you really are, sitting here tonight listening to this, the I am is in the center right now. If you didn't have the I am, you wouldn't be aware of tonight's satsang. You couldn't hear, you couldn't see. And so the very essence of awareness is that I am at the center of the wheel, while you have a story, while you have a personality, while you have a gender and a race. That's all happening on the circumference. And all of that is mind. All of that is mind. Yeah. And so mastering our mind is very simple, and we can give it to you at the very beginning. It's to come into the center, as Michelle said. You come back to 0 point. The center is 0, and the outside is, well, everything, the A, B, C, D, and all the numbers up to whatever, that all happens on the outside. But the center is 0. It's nothing. There's no thingness. The thingness happens on the circumference. Every object appears on the circumference of life, on the drama of life. And another way of looking at it is really like the ocean. So the story of your life is on the surface of the ocean. Waves. And sometimes you have waves and, all the ups and downs and the wind and the storms. But even in that moment, if you go beneath the waves, if you go right down, you find the stillness in the ocean. Now, you are the ocean. That's who you are. Having the experience, a very brief experience, I must say, of a wave. A wave is a very transitory experience, very brief moment in time. And our lifetimes are very, very brief. If you look at the cosmos, if you look at the age of the cosmos, not even a blink of an eye, and that's our lives. And that is all mind. When they were going back 100 odd years ago, and they were delving into the quantum physics. And Max Planck, who won the Nobel Prize back then, he said, if there's one thing I've learned about matter, physical, solid matter, that is that matter doesn't exist. All that's real is mind. In other words, underneath all the objects around you right now in your room, including your body, there's an energy that binds it, that allows it to appear solid. And that is called mind. That is called mind. So it's not only your thought process that you're consciously aware of, but mind is actually permeating all of the physical universe. In fact, the very word to exist, the word exist means to stand out from. To stand out from. So everything that exists is standing out from something. And what is that something that's standing out from?
All that is. Standing
out from that 0 point field that Michelle spoke about, that center of the wheel, that center of the hub, that nothingness. So all that exists stands out from the nothingness. And Buddha, he talked about emptiness. emptiness. In the center of the wheel is emptiness. The I am is emptiness. And emptiness is not mind. It's the pure infinite conscious awareness that's unconditioned, where the circumference of the wheel is conditioned. Your drama of your life is conditional mind. The surface of the ocean is conditioned. The waves come and the waves go. But beneath the ocean is the unconditioned, that pure stillness, that pure presence.
I love the ocean analogy, because same with the waves, that the waves were, underneath the surface there's stillness. It's also if you throw something into water and you push the water with your foot or something and it ripples, eventually that water, once it's rippled out, it eventually reaches stillness again. So there's ripples, but there's stillness there, because underneath there's stillness. And we are water. We're 90% water. So it's the same with us. There can be ripples on the surface. There can be a lot going on. But we have access to stillness all the time, because it's right there. We've just got to be conscious of it, because we have these, sometimes most of us have troublesome roommates.
In your head?
Yes.
And they chatter
living
away.
Upstairs. And, we've got the warrior roommate, for example, that worries about the future. Or we've got the one who ruminates about the past. And we've got the critic, the inner critic, that says, you shouldn't have done that. You maybe should have done it differently. If you had said that, could you have said it better? So we've got all these voices inside our heads. And these, 60,000?
Yeah, between
thoughts?
40 and 70,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
So probably
That's a lot.
about 60,000 thoughts a day.
So the one thing is not to believe our thoughts, but the other is, what do we do with those thoughts? What do we do with that, those 60,000 thoughts? And the roommate, the critic. I mean, we would never live with somebody like that. If we had an actual physical roommate that was as loud as our voice in the head, we would boot them out.
Yeah.
So what do we do with those voices, And I think what we've just been talking about is it's again that wheel analogy, the circle, is to be aware of it, to bring yourself into presence, is to be aware of it. Because at that moment you have a choice of, do I continue this story, or do I actually bring myself away from the story? And I think that the more we do that, the easier it becomes. Because it's, they've discovered now that the brain's very plastic. It's neuroplasticity. And that you can literally rewire your brain. And the place to do that is in presence. When we go into presence, even for a short time, every time we do that, we're rewiring. And so what that means is that we're creating new pathways. So it's a little bit like when you go onto a dirt road and it's been raining and your wheels go into the rut of the road. And it doesn't matter how much sand you fill up those ruts with, your mind will go into, your car will go, that wheel will go into that rut. And it's the same with the mind. So the deeper the grooves, the easier it is to go into that patterned response, that conditioned response. So what they're saying in neuroscience and neuroplasticity is make another pathway. So when we have a negative thought, or when we have a troublesome thought, or when the roommate's in the head, is to actually, one of the ways we can do it is to transplant another thought in place of that. So when we become aware of it, you should have done this because you are X, Y, Z, you can then state something in the present, like an affirmation, that is the opposite of that. And that starts to actually literally make a new pathway. And the more that pathway gets developed in a kind of a more positively energetic sense, that then takes over from those old pathways and they kind of grow over. So that's the way I look at it, is that every time you have that negative thought, you feed it, you're going into that same groove and you're deepening it. So it's just to be aware of it. You say, I don't really have to go that way. I don't have to go on that road. I can actually go on that road.
And that's the power of affirmation.
Yeah.
Affirmation is a very, very powerful tool for mastering the mind. And there are a few tools we're going to give you, but that's one of them,
Yeah.
affirmations. And if you just think of that analogy we used in the beginning there with the hub of the wheel and the circumference of the wheel. The hub of the wheel we can call the I am, and the circumference, in my case, it's John. It's the story of John, and it's the story of our lives. So it's best, if we want to master the mind, which is the story, it's to start an affirmation with the name of the hub. That is the I am. So when we start an affirmation with the I am, we give it tremendous power. It's the power of presence. It's the power of stillness. It's the power of emptiness. So, for example, we had a boxer many years ago called Cassius Clay, who later became Muhammad Ali. And when he was a young teenager, he wasn't a very good boxer. He wasn't very strong. And he realized what we're speaking about here, the power of affirmation. So he came up with an affirmation as a teenager. I don't know who taught it to him, but he came up with an affirmation. And the affirmation used that sacred name, the I am. And he put onto it, he tacked onto that the greatest. So it is, I am the greatest. And whatever you tack onto that, the name of the creator, the I am, you give tremendous creative energy to. So he used to say, I am the greatest, I am the greatest, I am the greatest. And gradually over the years he became the greatest. And when he, won the world title for the first time, he stood there in the ring and he held up the belt or whatever it was, and he said, I am the greatest. And everyone thought he was so arrogant. But all he was doing was repeating the affirmation that had actually brought him to that level. So the power of the affirmation is immense, and many, many people have used the power of affirmation to change their lives. And there's, a teacher, John D. Martini, who travels around the world teaching. And as a youngster, he was dyslexic, and he left school at a very young age, about 12 years old, to go and surf in California. And at the age of 17, he overdosed on some berries, and he was brought back to life again by a guy called Paul Bragg. And Paul Bragg said, I want you to write this down. Well, he couldn't write it down. He gave it to him. He said, I want you to say this affirmation every single day of your life from here on. I am a genius, and I apply my wisdom. Now, John couldn't write then, but he memorized that. I am a genius, and I apply my wisdom. Now, John wasn't a genius back then. But he repeated it over and over and over again. Eventually, he did read a book, and eventually read a second book. And, they say he reads about 2.5 books a day at the moment. A phenomenal memory. And he became what he affirmed. Whatever you put after the name I am, you create. Now, the mind puts a lot of stories after the I am. So it says things like, I am not good enough. That's an affirmation. Well, guess what you create?
I'm stupid.
Or I am stupid. Or I am depressed. Or I am angry.
I'm sick. I'm sick and tired.
I'm sick and tired. And we're creating our reality, our neurology, from our affirmations that we're telling ourselves. And what Michelle was leading us to earlier with the grooves in the road. And so we have a groove going that way, I am just not good enough. Well, let's turn that around to say, I am good enough. There's a new road. And the more we use the power of affirmations, the more we master the mind. So we're using our conscious awareness now to create new paths, new neurological patterns in our mind. And another tool which we can use is the power of visualization.
Huge.
If we use visualization, we rewire the mind again. Because the mind is creating patterns already, it's creating pictures in our mind. And generally it focuses on what is wrong and what's going to go wrong. And you have all these scenarios going through your mind about what's going to happen. And most of those scenarios, most of those imagined futures are terrible. And so we're using the power of imagination to create what we don't want.
Yeah, that's fear, isn't it? It's the power of imagination using that to create what we don't want.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's realizing the power of thought. It's how powerful we actually are, how powerful our thoughts are. that we are creating our future by what we're thinking. So when we realize that and we say, okay, I can choose not to think that. I can choose to think something else. So it's literally like getting to a fork in the road and going, I don't have to go down that old alley anymore. I can go down this one. I can go down this really straight, beautiful highway. You know, I don't have to keep falling into the same hole. So it's just, it's a choice in that moment. I mean, some people use the technique of when they hear a thought in their head that's not helpful, they say stop. They see a stop sign. I mean, that's another way of doing it. It doesn't really work for me, but it does work for some people. So it's anything in neuro-linguistic programming, they call it a pattern interrupt or change of state. If you can change a state in a moment, you first got to become aware of it. So you've got to be present enough to be aware of it. But if you can change it in that moment, then you make a different choice. You literally face it at a crossroads. You say, okay, I'm not going that way. So as that thought comes in, and as those, sometimes they can be obsessive thoughts, especially if you've been triggered and your pain body's been triggered. They can be obsessive. They just keep coming. And then the one thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, leads to another thought, and the next thing you are like in the story, completely and utterly absorbed into the story. You've completely forgotten who you are because you actually just become a story.
Yeah. And if you want to know where your mind is running your life most dysfunctionally, look at what's not working in your life. Look at an area. Just take one particular aspect of your life right now. What aspect of your life isn't as you would like it? And then once you've identified that, look at an affirmation that you are telling yourself about that particular aspect of your life. So look at the story you're telling yourself about that aspect of life, and then look at an affirmation. You'll find a very short little statement that you are saying that actually affirms the wrongness of your life. And then what you do is you turn it around. What would the opposite of that be? So, for example, if you are, like Muhammad Ali, very weak boxer, and you say, well, I am a weak boxer. Okay, well, that's not going to get me anywhere. So I am the greatest is a great turnaround. And even though that statement is not true for you now when you begin to make it, as you rewire, as you entrench those pathways in your brain, you will attract, first of all, your innate ability, but secondly, you will attract situations, circumstances, and people to help make that a reality for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, thoughts have a vibration, don't they?
They do.
So as soon as you're thinking, and I mean, you can do that with the water, the emoto experiences when you put different words on water and water responds. We're water again. So it's proof that we actually are aligned with what we're thinking, and our vibration changes with our thoughts. So you think positive thoughts, your vibration lifts, and then you attract that vibration to you. The other one that we can use is where there's a repeated pattern. So, like for example, if you find yourself saying, people always take advantage of me, or I always get let down by staff, or money just goes through my fingertips. Those things that we've said without even being aware of it, very often been handed down by our families. Money doesn't grow on trees, Those beliefs that we've actually been handed down, we find ourselves saying them without even knowing it. Until maybe you've got a partner or a friend that can say, do you know that you say that often?
Yeah.
Because we don't even know it.
That's what partners are for. They're not there to make you feel warm and fuzzy. They're there to point out, those unconscious patterns that they're so obvious to everyone else, but we don't see it ourselves because they're subconscious patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And those are the patterns that run our lives. So, I always say that you can liken your thoughts to a pile of bricks, and every single morning imagine that a truckload of 60,000 bricks was dumped outside. And you can choose what you want to build with those bricks every day. Every single day when you awaken in the morning, it's a brand new day. And your past, your egoic mindset will try and build the same structures you had from the day before using the same bricks. But no, you've been given an opportunity every single morning as you wake up to choose to build differently, to choose your thoughts. Now, one of the problems or one of the challenges of mastering our mind is that the mind generally is the one making your decisions and your choices. And so we step back behind the mind, and that was the opening meditation tonight, to step back into that stillness. When you are still and when you're aware, particularly, I don't know if any of you managed to go into that space between your thoughts. It's that space, the awareness of the space between your thoughts, which is your most intelligent part of yourself. That's the part of yourself that is then able to choose new bricks. Don't ask your mind to choose them, but that awareness, it's awareness that is the creator within you, that awareness. So by stepping out of the mind and going into that still place of awareness, you're then able to choose your thoughts. And one of the tools that we can give you, which we have already given you already to do that, is the alignment with the breath, the breathing, which is a very, very powerful tool to bring you back into that center of the wheel, back into alignment with the I am. Because it's the I am that's breathing you. It's not the John that's breathing. John doesn't know how to breathe. But the I am, which is life within you, does. So using the tool, the technique of conscious breathing, whenever you're stressed, whenever you're troubled, whenever you've got a situation that needs to be resolved, go into the breath, into the alignment of your awareness with the breath. That will open you up to that space. In that space, you can choose your affirmation. So you've done the homework, you've written down certain aspects of your life which you would like to change, which the mind is currently running, and the mind is currently running it rather like driving through, a Karoo with your rear view mirror. You're looking, you seem to be looking forward, but in fact you're looking back. You're looking only at the mirror, and all you can see is the road behind you. That's what the mind does. The mind doesn't know about the future. It only knows about the past, and it's trying to project the future, but based on the past. And so in that moment, you are ruled by the mind. But one conscious breath brings you back into reality, back into presence. And from presence, when you clear your mind, doing what we did earlier with the breathing, you can then plant the new affirmation. And particularly if you start out with the name I am whatever, and into that stillness, that it's a place of pure potentiality, you plant the new affirmation. Then you're mastering your mind, because then what you're doing is you're putting your hands on the steering wheel and steering your mind in the direction you want to go. So that's the power of the affirmation. It rewires your brain in the direction you want to go. And it takes awareness to do that. So what you do is you take a piece of paper, you write down the areas of your life that aren't working, you take each area one by one, and you make a list of affirmations that currently mirror that particular dysfunctional part of your life. People are just never kind to me. People are always obstructive. People, always block me. These are affirmations. These are all affirmations, and you make a list of them. And then next to each one, you put a counter affirmation. So you are preparing the groundwork, and then you do the presence practice. So that's the one which we've given you so far, is the breathing. You bring yourself back into presence. It only takes one conscious breath. You can do 3 if you want. And then in that state of presence, you then plant the new affirmation after you've cleared your mind. Very, very powerful. And you'll find magic will start to happen in your life as you start to use these affirmations. It does take a bit of patience, because it's probably taken you many, many years of repeating your other affirmations, the ones that you don't want. And they're pretty much ingrained in your mind. So it does take a bit of patience, a bit of practice. And saying an affirmation once or twice will not do the trick. You've got to say it 200 to 500 times a day. 200 to 500 times a day. And you will very quickly rewire the neurological patterns. So that's the one step which we want to give you.
You can almost see it like every time you replace it with something, with another thought, with a more empowering thought, that you've got like a little link in a chain. So as soon as you actually have enough links in a little chain to form a circuit, you've created a new pathway. So it does require repetition, because you can start it and then forget about it, and then that just sort of peters out, and you're going to go back into the default. It's a bit like a computer. It goes back into the default font or whatever that things that's been running from the very beginning. So you're wanting to change it. So it's got to have repetition. You have to do repetition. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, if you're a sports person, you've got to do repetition. If you're a gymnast, you've got to do it. If you're a cricketer,
you've got to do it over and over again.
Over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, John's got a little granddaughter of 6, and she was hot set on doing cartwheels. And a few months ago, she couldn't do a cartwheel. Now, she does a cartwheel every time she can, at every opportunity.
And she's
perfected it within months because she constantly does
practice,
it.
Practice,
over and over. And as she does it, she gets more confident and it gets better.
Practicing doing it without the hands now.
Yeah, it's the same with our minds. It's the same. It's practice. And we get impatient with ourselves. You know, we get impatient because we're not shifting fast enough and we still have these negative thoughts. But it's just to know that it's a process. And each time you do it, it's actually creating a little pathway. Yeah. And you can even, if you live with someone, you can even ask them. You can say, tell me if I'm actually saying something negative without knowing. Because those things pop out without us even being aware of it. And you'll say, well, you just said it. You'll say, really? Did I say that? Because it's unconscious. It's from our deep unconscious that it comes out.
No, that's right.
Yes,
so the power of affirmation is one way of mastering the mind. And there are a few other tools which we don't have time to go through tonight. But just to share one thing. Whatever you value, you will give energy to.
Yeah.
You will give energy to. So now most people value their mind and they spend an awful lot of time and energy trying to improve their mind. And I did that 20 odd years ago when I started my current business. I thought it was all about improving the mind. And the name of the company, still have it today, is called Mind Enhancement Systems. And I was teaching mind power, to use the power of visualization, to use the power of affirmation. And it was all about enhancing the mind, I thought. But what I've discovered something more powerful than that. And that is the power of presence. Presence, this empty space of awareness, is more powerful than the mind. In fact, this is the true creator energy. So if we start to put more of our attention on what is rather than what isn't, we will align ourselves with the creative energy of the universe. So this is a very powerful teaching which we give you, and we actually go very deep into that in our 13-week course, Journey to Freedom, because it's all about freedom from the mind. But to make the present moment more valuable to you than the story in your head. In other words, if we have a look at that analogy of the wheel again. So around on the circumference of the wheel, we have our drama, we have our story, we have the mind, and we have time. In the center, we've got your true creative energy, which is called the I am, right in the very beginning. I am. John, in my case, is the story around the circumference. In the past, we've made the circumference our focus. We've given it energy, we've given it attention. Now I'm suggesting that if we withdraw our awareness and we place it in the center, which is what Michelle said earlier, the 0-point field, the right in the center, if we start to value that more than the story, we will master the mind. Because then what we can choose, moment to moment, we can choose which bricks we want to pick up, which bricks we want to use to build a new set of circumstances for ourselves from. Because only when you are centered that you have the power of real choice. Otherwise, it's merely your past recreating itself in choosing the same bricks it chose last year and the year before and the year before that. And you'll find repeating patterns in your work environment, in your relationship, in your financial issues, just repeating patterns, because your mind is not capable of creating newness. It creates the sameness over and over again. So the other tool which we want to give you tonight is to start valuing presence. Start to value the stillness, the emptiness. Start to make what is more important to you than the story that your mind is giving you about future and about past. To make what is more important to you than what isn't. Yeah. So we would just like to invite you tomorrow night to come and join our Life Vision week. It's totally free. You just got to go onto journeysofawakening.com and register from there.
It's a really lovely week. 2 Zoom calls. You get invited to two Zoom calls. You get some journal questions. You get an art project. You get a meditation. 2 meditations. So it's a really beautiful little workshop all on its own. And it's a really good time to do it now with the new year, the new astrological year.
Absolutely. So now's the
please
time to join us.
journeysofawakening.com and join us tomorrow night for the first Zoom call. When you register, you'll get all the details on the Zoom call and the date and the time and the place and everything.
Yeah.
And the Zoom code.
Yeah. And we'll put you onto our WhatsApp group as well, especially for that. And we'll send you all the details there. And tell your friends. Invite your friends. Bring them around for the first week. Let them experience what we have to offer in the week. It's a good week.
Yeah,
Very good week. We have 7 little modules to go through in the first week. So that's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock South African time, which is UTC +2. So thank you for joining us tonight. Now we're going to ask Michelle to do some important work, some really important work with the meditation, visualization. And then don't leave after that, because we're going to share a powerful affirmation, one of those tools that we spoke about earlier for mastering the mind. So the power of affirmation. And just one little thing, if my son just happens to watch tonight, it's his birthday today. So happy birthday. Happy birthday, Maria, and happy birthday, Robert.
Thanks everybody for watching, and I will lead you out with a little meditation. Okay. I'll just turn the mic closer. Alright, so just get comfy in whatever you're sitting or lying on. And just take a beautiful breath in and out. So bring the breath in belly first. So imagine, or fill up your belly first, and then bring your breath all the way up, all the way up, all the way up into your chest. Hold it for a little bit, and then just let it all go. Breathe it all out, sigh it all out, shake it out. Just really get yourself settled into this moment. And another deep breath in. And a releasing, relaxing breath out. And as you breathe out, just really relax your body. See if you can soften your body into the moment. As if you're sort of dropping in very gently into the moment. Just be aware of your breath. As you breathe in now, you're not trying to force it, not trying to make it anything it isn't. Just noticing your breath as it enters in through your nostrils and as it exits. Each out breath, soften your body, starting with the head and going all the way down. Shoulders, drop your shoulders. Relax your arms, relax your hands. If possible, allow them to just be open. Place your shoulders back just a little bit so that you open your heart. It's easier to breathe. Become aware of the sounds that you can hear beyond my voice. The sounds that you can hear in the room firstly. And now see if you can extend your hearing to the outside world, outside your room. And now bring your breathing back, your attention back to your breath. The sound of your breath. Smells that you can smell as you breathe in. Connect with what you can see behind your eyes. And connect with what you can feel in your body right now. Are there any areas of resistance or tightness or pain? Breathe deeply as if you were breathing into that area. Send your breath, your loving attention. Just send that into that very area. That's it. Just feel yourself softening into this moment. Now I want you to imagine a circle, big circle, with a vertical line running through the middle from top to bottom, and a horizontal line running from left to right, intersecting it. In the middle of that circle is a big round 0. Now just imagine placing yourself right in the middle of that circle. And in that circle, all the stories and all the conditionings and all the characteristics and personalities and history and future and everything around you in the circle. Your name, your roles, your achievements, your concerns, the stories you tell yourself, the stories other people tell you about yourself, all of that around you. I want you to just place your attention on the very center of that circle, you standing in the center. Now imagine if you had the ability to just bring yourself into that middle point, while everything around you is continuing to move around. And as you bring yourself into the center, say the words, I remain, firmly but gently, in my own space, despite what's happening around me. Right now, in this moment. If thoughts arise, as they might, just notice them, be aware of them. And consciously, as if you were leading a child, bring yourself back to the center. And as you bring yourself back to the center, become aware of your breath. That's all it is. If another thought arises, or maybe a feeling or an image, notice it, acknowledge it if you need to, and then breathe and drop back into the center, right in the middle of the circle. This place of I am, this eternal place, this place of stillness. As you drop into this place, see if you can still your eyes. slow the movement of your eyes down so they come gently to rest. And drop in even further into this moment. And now just being here in the moment, just set the intention of opening yourself to a beautiful new year where you become sovereign in your life. You become the master of your thoughts. You get to choose where you stand. Stand firmly in my own space, despite all that's going on around me. And now take a beautiful deep breath in. And a lovely exhale. Let it all out. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes.
That was beautiful. Who feels more centered now, more present, more at home? Thank you, Michelle. That was really lovely. So let's choose an affirmation. We've got all these wonderful affirmation cards here, all different colors, and Michelle's going to choose.
Let me not look. Okay, the affirmation, we'll put it on the side afterwards. I live my life as if there is no next moment. Therefore, I find fulfillment now. That's brilliant. That's lovely for today.
I live my life as if there's no next moment. Therefore, I find fulfillment now. So we're not postponing life to some future time. We're living life now, right here and right now. That's where our power is.
Yeah, it is.
So that's lovely. I'll put that up on the Facebook page. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again, hopefully tomorrow night. Go to journeysofawakening.com and register for the Life Vision Week, which is under Journey to Freedom, by the way. It's under Journey to Freedom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you for being with us
Thanks,
tonight.
everybody.
And have a beautiful week further.
Lovely being with you
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.